You're watching Public Affairs, and you know, this is a special show. Usually I say Berkowitz is my name and politics is my game. Well, it is my game, and we will be doing lots of politics. But we're going to do a special show about the modern American woman in politics, because we have as our guest Amanda Biela. She is running for state rep in the 15th district in the northwest side of Chicago, northwest suburbs. So wherever you're watching this from, if you want to know and understand some state legislative issues, whether you're in southern Illinois, central Illinois, northern Illinois, rural city, we're going to hit on those issues that affect everybody. Amanda, you are every woman, right?
I suppose I am, yes.
Okay. So,
modern American woman.
So you're running in the 15th district.
I am.
That's the northwest side of Chicago.
In the suburbs, northwest suburbs.
Yeah, and the suburbs. You live in Edgebrook. That's in the city, right?
Yes.
And what are some of the neighborhoods that surround you?
Well, Edgebrook's pretty central in the district, and then we have to the west Wildwood, and to the east Sauganash, but also a little farther south Forest Glen, Mayfair, Peterson Park area.
And this is all Chicago.
All Chicago.
So if you're not in Chicago, Chicago has this thing where a lot of neighborhoods get their own name. Some are not. Some are nameless.
We're very neighborhood centric.
Your neighborhood, yeah. It's because the one word, and this is the second part of our show with Amanda. The first show you can find on youtube.com, or the first part of the show, youtube.com/publicaffairs.tv, where you can find many of our shows for the last 4 or 5, maybe years going further back, like Barack Obama from 2000, 2002, so forth. Okay, so you can find that first show with some of the, we'll just touch lightly on some of the same things. But, so, you're in the city of Chicago, the area you seek to represent, the 15th district, includes some suburbs which are?
Niles, Morton Grove, Glenview.
So those are your typical northwest suburbs. They're fairly affluent, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, they're not North Shore.
They're not North Shore, but they're not,
yes.
It's not like slumming.
People
right?
making a decent living, yes.
Decent living, and the same thing with where you live in the northwest side of Chicago?
Yeah.
In Edgebrook, in
Yeah, I would
Sauganash,
say
and
so.
forth?
Definitely we're a city worker neighborhood, lots of cops, firemen, teachers.
Because those folks, if you work in the city of Chicago, you're supposed to live in the city of Chicago, or you could lose your job, right?
That is true.
Okay, so you know, you're running against a guy by the name of John D'Amico. We're fair and balanced, so we've invited John here. We're still inviting John. If you see this and you want to play catch up and catch up with Amanda, welcome to come on. What's the main difference between you and John? And John, if you come on, we'll ask you the same question. What's the main difference between John, and Amanda? So fair is fair. But if you don't come on, John, you can't tell us the main difference.
Well, I'd say the main difference between me and John D'Amico is that he is a machine politician. He has been a part of our local Chicago. His family has a little machine in the 39th Ward, but also the Madigan machine. He votes how Madigan wants him to, and he's not looking to make any major changes. Our state's in dire straits, especially financially, and he's not on any forefront about making waves, about making new reforms.
Yeah, and so, and he's been there how many years?
Since 2004.
14 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of entrenched.
Yeah, I'd say he's entrenched, yes.
So you're thinking you'd like to beat him, right?
I would very much like to beat him. Yes.
Because right now, the State House has 67 Democrats?
Yes.
51 Republicans?
Right. And we need 9 seats to flip
If you win 9, then you got 60, and then they got 58, right? So you then have the majority. And then Speaker Mike Madigan, who's been Speaker for like...
State Representative Mike Madigan.
How long has he been Speaker?
Since, I believe it's 47 years, so that I think it's 70...
Yeah, it's practically more like 33 years. I mean,
a Speaker. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's been a state rep.
Sorry, he's state rep since like 47 years. You're right, Speaker like 33 years. Yeah,
35.
I'm sorry.
He took a 2-year coffee break
Yes.
in 1995 and 96.
Yeah,
But before then and after then, it's been the Speaker.
Right.
The most powerful politician in the state of Illinois. He is fond as governors come and go. Democrat governors, Republican governors. I think there have been 7 or 8 while he's been around.
Right.
He has these little baseball cards, he says, that they have pictures of the governors on. He showed one to Rauner when he came in. He said, see, they come and go. Here's Jim Edgar. Here's Rod Blagojevich. Here's Ben Quinn. Okay. Do you think it would be helpful to the state if you could retire the speaker?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, he is the stopping many of the reforms. We have reforms that they can't even come out of committee to be voted on because his people will put a stop on it.
What is the foremost issue you're running on? If you could tell people out in your neck of the woods in the 15th district, what would you tell them?
What I would say would be property taxes. We have the highest property taxes in the nation. They're twice the national average.
So if somebody has, what we talked about last time, might be the average market value home in your area of about $500,000, that's sort of the average?
That's fair, yeah.
What do you think they're paying? What was your estimate as to actually how much they're paying right now in property tax?
Well, it would-
Not how much they should be paying, but how much they are
I mean,
paying.
it depends if we're talking city versus suburbs. Suburbs are even higher.
So what are they paying in the city?
Well, I mean, I can tell you my own home. I mean, we're paying over $7,000 for a home that's, well, it's valued under $500,000.
Under 5. So
Yeah,
you're
so we're
paying,
paying anywhere, depending on the suburb or in the city, between $7,000 and $10,000 you're paying for that home.
so if somebody's got a $500,000 home, they may be paying as much as 2%.
Oh, right, yeah, you get
Certainly
close to
more
that.
than
in your-
1%.
You get close to that in the suburbs, yeah.
And so you're running on, what's the kind of cap that you want?
It's a 1% hard cap on the market value of the home.
What do you mean by hard cap?
Well, that would mean that it cannot be raised past 1% for the, so if your home is worth
It's
$500,000.
hard, it's like a rule.
Hard.
You can't like say, here's an exception.
Yeah, and then
because we're needy this year.
Because we really need it this year, we need to raise it now to 1.5%.
So if somebody shows they got a market value, you can do an appraisal of $500,000.
You're paying $5,000.
So if you're paying $10,000 now and you're living in the 15th, you come in and your home is worth $500,000, you get what kind of savings in property taxes?
Well, it would be a couple $1,000s.
Well, if they're paying $10,000 on a $500,000 home.
Oh, right, you're
and
half.
you get your hard cap,
Yeah, you're paying half.
so you're going to save how much?
50%,
If you're paying $10,000, what's 50% of $10,000?
$5,000.
So you're saving $5,000.
I'm sorry, you're saving
That's all.
$5,000. I'm doing percentages.
That's the point. That's the answer we were looking for here on Jeopardy. Okay, and so you're saving $5,000. So if you're watching that, the reason why that's important, again, this is everyone, because Amanda is running in the 15th district, but she could be running in another part of Illinois, and you can have very similar issues in another part of Chicago, another suburb, another rural issue. You could be concerned about your property taxes. You might want to see, this is not a cap just for the 15th district.
No, this is for the whole state.
The whole
state.
Okay.
And it's not unprecedented. We looked at Indiana, they have a 1% hard cap right now.
They have that, and it's
do
working.
have that.
They've had a while.
And it does work. They've had
and
it
their
for a while now.
schools are okay.
They still have
They're
their
not
public
pulling out
services.
They have all their services.
Yeah.
They have their Medicaid. They have their pensions.
Right.
Life goes on.
Right.
Somehow they do that.
They do.
Okay, so that's an important issue. And John, you come on and tell us whether you support that 1% hard cap. Because I'm thinking, the State House district across the state of Illinois, there are 177 state legislative seats, 59 are Senate, 118 are State House.
Mm-hmm.
So all 118, they do this redistricting to keep them relatively even, but they tend to be about 100,000 in each district, right?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
But you don't have 100,000 voters, but you got kids, you got some people who are not registered to vote, et cetera.
We put ours around 70,000.
Pardon?
70,000.
Who could vote?
Right.
Are they all, how many are registered?
Yeah, roughly around 70,000.
But come November 6th, or whenever the election is, we're taping this on July 27th, 2018. You'll probably see it a week or two later. So by the time you see it, there'll be a little, probably 11 weeks left. We're getting down to 3 months.
Getting very close.
Getting closer.
Yes.
Okay. And so come November 6th, if we've got the election day right, I think we do, thereabouts, close enough for cable. How many people will be voting in that election, roughly? What's your best guess?
Roughly,
for the 15th?
we're guessing around 25,000. That's our estimate.
25,000?
Right. That's based
So-
on 4 years ago
Okay,
governor's race.
so even though you could have 70,000, you have that many registered voters, you get maybe a third.
Yeah,
It's really
that's
not,
about it.
okay. So 25,000, Now, how many do you need if 25,000 show up? How many do you need to win?
Well, that would be 12,500, but we want
12,501, or else it could be a tie.
And one, yes, and
You
one.
need 50% plus one, so 12,501 is what you need.
I mean, what numbers we're shooting at, we're collecting votes. That's how we look at it. When we talk to voters, when we go door to door, we look at 15,000. That's what we want to reach. That's what we want to get voters voting for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're shooting for 15,000.
Right, because we
you
figured
want a
that
little
might
buffer.
be
There could be a
we want a
bigger
little buffer.
there could be more people showing up.
Bigger turnout, yeah.
But let's just say you're right, and they're only 25,000. You only need 12,500.
Right.
Now, last time around, you had a candidate. I'm sure he was a nice person. It was a he, right?
Yes.
But he may not have been canvassing as you have for a year, right?
Right.
You've already been canvassing for a year.
Over a year.
You're putting a lot of time into this.
Yes.
Because this is the modern American woman who is. I know something about the modern American woman. Sort of in that 45, 55 demographic. How do I describe her? I do know her. She is smart. She is often professional. She is career-oriented. You have had several careers, right? I
have. I was a teacher. I ran a nonprofit. But the thing about being a modern American woman is that you have the choice to do what you want to do with your career. I also decided to stay home with my kids.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
So roughly their ages?
9, 12, 14.
So she's kind of brood, we call them that at home?
I suppose, yeah.
Several boys and girls? Or
2 boys, 1 girl.
Okay. So you're doing that, you're taking a break in your career. So you're the modern American woman, career-oriented. She's been a teacher, she's worked for a not-for-profit. She's raised a family with her husband, John, right, who's a CPS principal? Michael.
Yeah.
And he is a CPS principal?
He's a CPS principal. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Michael. So you see what I mean? This is the modern American woman. I mean, she's really done all of these things. Right?
Well, I think it's, and that you have...
You're strong, right?
Yes, I'm very strong.
She's very strong, seriously.
Well, I think it's having the choice to make your own path. And not being dictated by society.
Right, okay. Because there was a time when it was odd to see a female running for state rep anywhere, including Illinois. Now it's not odd at all. I don't know, they may outnumber the men.
Right,
Are they getting there, right?
I don't know. We have several folks in our party and also across the aisle.
And this is the year in which it's important. The Democrats say it's really important. They're running a lot of women, and they should, because you know why? What is the Democrats' problem? Here, we're fair and balanced. But if you think of Democrats in Illinois and Chicago, they got a problem? Women? Democrats? What's their problem with women?
Well, there's all the sexual harassment.
Yeah, what do we call that movement? Me Too.
Yeah,
right?
Me Too, yeah.
So Mike Madigan said, me too, meaning Mike has a problem, right? What was the speaker's problem?
Well, he had various aides that had issues, sexual harassment.
Yeah. And he wasn't doing anything, was he?
And he didn't do anything.
And then somebody called to his attention.
We also had, there wasn't the IG for the oversight for
2 or 3 years.
For several years.
And that was Mike. He didn't give a rat's ass, right? Yeah. Mike, come on and defend yourself. He gave me an interview 3 or 4 years ago. I appreciate that. Come on, if we've said something wrong, we are fair and balanced. You will get every opportunity to address everything we've said and more. So that's their problem. Me Too. Republicans have that problem? Not so much, right?
Not in Illinois, we don't.
Yeah, not in Illinois, not in Chicago, not in your neck of the woods. Yeah. You folks, here's one advantage the Republicans have. Okay? So back to winning this race. Where the rubber hits the road, you need 12,501. The person ran before 2 years ago. Right?
Well, it's a presidential year, so the vote total's higher. But percentage-wise...
The vote total's higher that year.
Yeah, because...
But he got about 10,000 votes total, right?
Well, no more than that, because more people voted. But it was roughly, he had 39%.
But the main thing is, say he got 10,000, he wasn't doing so much.
Right.
Say that's kind of a gimme. Okay, it's a presidential year, say it's 9,000. So say you get 9,000. Really, Democrats vote for often Democrats, Republicans for Republicans. It's the middle, it's the independents, it's the swing vote, right?
Right, and I think...
So days get a certain number, ours get a certain number. What's your gimme? What's your almost sure that you get? Is it 9,000 votes?
Well, I mean, I think we're definitely starting out with, about 9,000 to 10,000 votes.
So if it's 10,000, all you need to win this election is probably 2,500 to 3,000.
And I think
right?
the issues that we're running are definitely issues that cross the aisle. When you look at property taxes, guess what? People that identify as Democrats, they're not happy with their property taxes either. And definitely Republicans aren't either. And people in the middle, you don't like
So
to
I'm
get
just
tax
saying,
bill.
all you need is possibly you just need to swing 3,000 votes. I mean, how hard that can be. I mean, really, so by the time you've got 13 weeks now,
Right.
3,000 votes. Say you got in those 13 weeks, you got 200 votes swung each week. That would be 2,600 votes. That would do it right there. So 200 votes in a week, 7 into 200, 30 votes a day, 24 hours in a day. You need 30 votes, you almost just need 1 or 2 votes an hour.
Well, that's why that's why we're knocking on doors as much as we can.
Okay.
It's making that direct contact with the voter.
So, and 2,000 or 3,000 people might be watching this show, Public Affairs. So John D'Amico, are you feeling lucky? Because if you take the chance and you don't appear here, Amanda could swing 3,000 votes and that's it, right?
Could be, yeah.
I mean, as I say to people, Barack Obama came on this show 6 times and he became president of the United States. 6 times and he became president of the United States. John, do you want to really take that chance? I mean, seriously.
Give me 4 more shots after this.
This is her
I'm going for
second show.
president.
She could be president soon. Okay, so let's get serious. Some of the issues we've covered: taxes.
Right.
We've covered the income tax, which is high. Look, people get hit with that income tax,
Yeah.
which has gone to almost 5%.
Right.
You
No
want to roll
sunset.
it back, right?
I'd like to roll it back, yeah.
All the way back to 3%, which it was before the Democrats raised it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 or 5 years ago it was 3%. You'd like to do that. You want to put a cap on property taxes, okay?
Right.
Because there are those taxes for the state. Last time we didn't mention, of course, there's the federal income tax. So if somebody's paying, in the example we gave last time, of I don't know, say they're paying 7,500 and what did we say, 150,000. They're paying state income taxes of about 7,500. They're paying another maybe 10,000 right now before a cap of 17.5. Some sales tax, that's 2,000. That's 20,000 right off the top of their 150 if they're making that much. But then they got the federal income tax, which might be another 20 or 30.
Well, and then you add in every other nickel and dime tax, which really aren't nickel
Fees
and
and all that,
dimes
right.
when you start adding up gas and phone and
So this is the issue, taxes, right?
yeah.
And it's also the issue, but if you cut, here we gotta be fair. Because the Republicans are running on this, I'm seeing, and folks, if you're running for state rep or state senator, you get in touch. We want it, Democrat or Republican, we want to highlight this issue in the next 3 months. We're doing the mayoral race in Chicago, we're doing this, we're focusing on this. So if we haven't gotten in touch with you, don't be shy. You get in touch with me, jbcg@aol.com. But to be fair, because you're talking about caps, a lot of the Republicans talking about caps, they might be running on that 1% hard cap.
It's a popular idea.
If you cut property taxes by $5,000, then your local village or the city of Chicago or whatever has $5,000 less from you. You add up, as F. Dirksen said, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and before you know it, you're talking,
It's a lot of money.
real money.
Right.
Seriously, so it adds up. So what do you have to do to allow those villages or the city of Chicago, if you're going to give them less money? You took some economics. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Illinois College for undergrad.
Illinois College in Jacksonville, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know a little economics.
I
If you're going to
suppose.
cut revenue for the villages, what do you need to cut in order to allow them to survive?
Well, we have to cut spending or also cut other places.
Spending, yeah, because it's got a balance. It's not like Illinois.
Right.
State government never has a balanced budget, but that's a whole other matter. Okay, or the city, whatever.
Yeah.
You've got to cut costs. So how are you going to cut costs?
Well, I mean,
How are you going to enable or maybe help local governments cut costs?
well, I think we do have to look at our pension problem. That's for the state.
Pension problem. Because what are the main drivers, real quick, for the state budget?
Pensions, Medicaid,
Pensions, Medicaid,
and education.
education.
Yeah.
So let's start with pensions. What do you do to cut what do you do to reduce pension costs
Right.
going forward? Because remember, we didn't say it last time, but there's a Wall Street Journal article, July 20th, kind of hits home close to you, a company by the name of WirePoints, local company to Wilmette, Ted Dabrowski. We know Ted. You can find a show we did with him on youtube.com/publicaffairs TV. You can find a show we did with Representative Skillicorn which goes into this issue in large, pensions, bankruptcy, maybe a solution, et cetera. So just look at that article if you haven't seen it, because, did you see that article by Ted?
I did see it,
What
yeah.
is his conclusion here?
Well, that basically we can't keep going down the path we are.
Does he talk about from 2003 to 2016 in Illinois as to how much income went up and how much accrued liability for
Right.
pension?
Well, in our pensions, I mean, I know I've read in the last 15 years, they've
Okay.
gone up 586%. And our average growth a year is around 8% for pension
And
growth.
what about income?
It hasn't gone up that much.
Okay, so like, and as Ted said, I think one thing he said, basically incomes went up 3 times faster than accrued liabilities
Right.
for pensions.
Right.
So people don't got it. It's
The math doesn't add up.
It doesn't add
It
up.
doesn't add up.
Okay, so what are you
And
going to
it's-
do?
and also-
What's your
and-
recommendation to allow the villages, the city, to cut their
Sure.
public sector worker pension costs?
Sure. Well, first thing I just want to say about the growth and
Okay.
go on to that. Illinois is extraordinary, even when you compare to our neighbors. Like Indiana, their growth is only 5% in pensions, and you look at Wisconsin,
We're
it's
an
3%.
outlier.
So we're an outlier to start
bad
with. So
way.
this isn't,
In a
yeah, in a
bad
bad way. So we have to recognize
Okay.
that, which I think a lot of people go, oh, we'll just
Okay.
be fine, we'll kick
So
it
what do we
down the
do? We only got 8 minutes left.
Okay, we only got 8 minutes. Well, I'd say, sometimes we have to do some things that are unpopular. We can look at freezing salaries, and the biggest thing is looking at reducing the workforce, okay, and how do we do that? A lot of it comes from consolidation, and that's in the form of government consolidation and also looking at schools, which nobody wants to say that, it's not popular, but we do need to look at
So
it.
going forward, you would have fewer employees
Yes,
working in the
Because that will
local
affect
governments
not just your
and
here
also
and
in the
now,
state
but,
government.
right? We
And
have like a
You
crazy
would
amount
try
of
to
state
freeze
employees.
salaries in the state level as well as in
We
the
could do
local
that.
level. So would you be freezing teacher salaries in Morton Grove? Would you try to encourage that? You don't
Yeah,
do that.
I mean-
Who controls those teacher salaries? I mean, you know something about it. Morton Grove is their district, Niles.
Right.
How are those salaries set in Niles or Morton Grove for
Well,
teachers?
as far as, it's through the local school districts, and they're bargaining
The
with the
district
unions.
bargains with who?
The union,
Teachers union.
yeah, teachers
And
union.
they go up at a pretty good clip, right?
They do,
You think they're going to have to go up a slower clip, don't you?
absolutely. I mean,
Because the pension formula takes a certain percentage, you get pensions down for state or local employees
And I think
by
it's-
getting salaries down,
I
right?
think it's fair, yes, and I think it's fair to look at what is the purpose of a pension. When we first started pensions for teachers and public servants, it was the idea that when you're teaching, you're making a modest income, that's the key word, and when you retired, you could continue that modest living. It's kind of a reward for the service to our communities.
And what kind of salaries are teachers in the suburbs getting now?
Oh, you'll have people making over 100,000.
Over 100,000,
Yeah.
and they may retire at 80% of that, which is
Right.
80,000, and then they have this formula COLA increase of 3% a year.
3%, which is
so
not-
before you know it, if they retire at 55, by the time they're 65, they're making 100,000
It's
a
like-
year in pension,
Right,
right?
it's like in 25 years, your pension will double.
Several million
with the
dollars,
COLA.
at least, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, the
Okay,
COLA.
so we can't do that.
Yeah.
So do you try to curtail the scope of collective bargaining?
I think
That was
that's one way. I
That
mean,
was one of
that's-
Browner's
yeah,
reforms.
absolutely.
That was knocked down and not
Right.
allowed to go forward by the speaker, who
I
you
mean,
went
our
on to see.
local school district, we should be able to negotiate at a rate that they can afford and what's best for their community and the school district. It shouldn't be put on by the state.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, but you want to sort of encourage, there might be some things that the state could do that would curtail the scope of collective bargaining. Because right now, the local governments have to negotiate the
they have to
salaries.
negotiate, yeah.
In the olden days, they could just say, here's our salary schedule. If you like it, fine. If you don't, you can teach somewhere
Right,
else.
right.
Would you think maybe we have to go more toward that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely.
Okay.
And what we can actually afford.
Okay. So, and if we can't get that kind of thing done, if we can't get that passed, and say we know there are a lot of local governments that have trouble meeting, they're way underfunded.
Right.
Their pension costs are exploding relative to
Right.
their incomes. So what is the B word that
Nobody-
they might want to, what's the B word?
Well, bankruptcy.
Which they can't do now because they
Because
don't
of
have the
state law.
power.
Right.
But who could give them the power?
Well, we could change that law.
Who could?
The state legislature.
Of which you would be one
Yes.
if you beat John D'Amico.
That would be.
Would you vote to support changing the law
Yeah,
to
for
allow
local
local governments
municipalities,
to have that power?
Because the idea, especially we saw that with Harvey, where they were, by state law, they had to pay into their pensions, and at the cost of not having police and firemen on the street, they had to let them go. And at that point,
Who was that?
Harvey.
Harvey.
Yeah, they're
Right,
letting go
because
their police
the
and
state law
fire.
required them to put
into
we
the
won't go
pension.
into all that here because we don't have time, but the state law essentially required Harvey to put money into the pensions. They couldn't pay current people, fire and police, so they cut half their police force.
And you're putting your public at risk. I mean, that's not good for the
So
people.
bankruptcy would allow you to smooth it out, cut
Right.
some people, but cut some pension costs. You're saying that would be fair?
Yes, I think a municipality should have that ability.
They should have the ability to file if they want
If
to.
they want to, yes.
You would vote to give them that?
I would, yeah, for the local municipalities. Now, when you talking bankruptcy at the state, I'm not really
What do you have to
crazy
do?
about.
What would you have to do to give power to the state of Illinois to have the power to file for bankruptcy? Do you know?
I'm not sure, is that Constitution?
Yeah, you would have to get
Yeah.
the federal government to pass a law saying states could do
Yeah.
that. So you could lobby with other states, the federal government. If you could
Yeah, I
join with
know.
lobbying, would you like to see Illinois, doesn't mean they have to file,
Right.
they would just have that option.
I don't know, because I think it's just a slippery slope we go down, especially when we start talking about states versus
Why
smaller
would it be so
municipalities.
different? Because okay, how much are the liabilities that currently exist for the state of Illinois for pensions?
Oh, well, at best,
Unfunded, how much?
130 billion. Worse,
And
it's about
possibly
218,
250.
yeah.
So let's say 200 billion.
Yeah.
200 billion in liabilities. There's no way. You think we could raise taxes to pay for that?
No, but I'd like to take the steps, if we can, to
Like what?
cut, well, like we were talking about, consolidation,
You think you
freezing
can,
salaries.
yeah, really, consolidation is nice. You think you could save $200 billion
I just,
by because the total state budget is like 35 billion, no, 38.5.
38.5, yeah.
That's for 1 year.
But I mean, I
200,
think
that's
if we
like
can-
7 years budget.
We can make some reforms, and at the same time, we talked about last time, for new hires, putting on 401K.
So you
going
would go
forward is
down
different.
that path. That's
I would
what
like to try that. I mean, I want to see bankruptcy
You mean
as,
there at some
even for
point-
Harvey, it has to be that last resort.
But you're ready to give the Harvey government
Well, they're at the point
power.
they don't have police and fire on the streets.
But you're ready to give all villages and cities in Chicago,
Right.
in
I think
Illinois, that right.
I think a state can absorb the cultural, economic, social ramifications of the bankruptcy more than if we look at Illinois and the scope of the United States. I mean, if we declare bankruptcy,
Okay.
there could be
Well, the main thing
reverberations that
is
we're not thinking
We got
about.
an answer here. We got an answer, and John D'Amico, you give them an answer because your constituents are entitled to know. Again, we're fair and balanced. We're not supporting Amanda. We're not supporting John. We're not supporting Speaker Mike. We're not trying to knock him down. We stand for one thing here on public affairs. Everybody should come on public affairs and give the people their positions so the people in the 15th and the 19th and whatever, they all know what their either incumbent or challenger stands for, and then they can vote and make a choice. And what do we call that?
Democracy?
Democracy. Okay.
The Jeopardy question of the day.
So what do we not tell people that you think they need to know? You got a minute.
Oh, about our campaign? I just think what I'm running, it is a break from that machine. I'm not a career politician. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but I'm doing it because I want to see the state be a better place for my kids in the future. They got 10 years to adulthood. I don't want them to leave. I mean, people are leaving. The exodus is real. We need to make the reforms now. I don't want to be turning out the lights in the state.
Okay, so that is the modern American woman. I say that because I have a lot of respect for the modern American woman who's smart, interesting, attractive, thoughtful, and knows how to run government. And the main thing is, you come back next week and every week to Public Affairs, not to see Berkowitz, he's nothing, but to see people like Amanda Biela running for state rep in the 15th district.